Good afternoon. I'm joined today with my colleague, the Honourable Pierre Poilievre, to speak about developments in the ongoing ethics scandal involving Prime Minister Justin Trudeau and Bill Morneau and his government. We learned yesterday in testimony at the Finance Committee that there's a lot more money that's been put on the table than we'd previously learned. And we had been led to believe that the total benefit received by members of the Trudeau family from the We organization was just over $212,000. Well, yesterday we learned there was an additional $353,000 that the Trudeau family received from the We organization. It's extremely concerning that we have daily new revelations in this scandal, and we've gone from hearing from both the We organization and the Prime Minister's office that there weren't speaking fees paid, to hundreds of thousands of dollars in speaking fees paid, to hundreds of thousands of dollars in expenses being paid. We're now looking at over $500,000 in benefits to members of Justin Trudeau's family from this organization. And within weeks of one of these trips, the government engages the We organization to deliver a program worth $500 million. $500,000 to the Trudeaus and $500 million back to the We organization. And as I said, this situation changes every day, and this will not be the first letter that we've had to send to the ethics commissioner, who has initiated an investigation into Justin Trudeau, twice already found guilty of breaking ethics laws since becoming Prime Minister, and now under investigation a third time with new revelations coming forward daily. So that letter will be to the Ethics Commissioner today. But there are developments that happen hourly coming from the Ethics Committee just now. The Liberal members of that committee engaged in a further attempt to cover up what's happening. The official opposition had put forward a proposal to have members of cabinet simply disclose if they were aware of the Prime Minister's conflict, and for them to disclose if they have any family members that would involved with this organization that would have put them in a conflict during the cabinet decision. And while the cover-up continues, Canada's Conservatives, Her Majesty's Loyal Opposition, will continue to ask tough questions. We will demand answers, and that's what we're going to get for Canadians. I'll turn it over to Mr. Poilievre.
Merci beaucoup. On savait auparavant que la famille Trudeau avait reçu à peu près 353 000 $ de frais de l'organisme uni. Mais hier, on a appris qu'il y a eu un autre 212 000 $ que l'organisme a payé pour rembourser des dépenses des membres de la famille Trudeau. En total, l'organisme uni a versé plus de 500 000 $ à la famille Trudeau, c'est-à-dire plus d'un demi-million de dollars de paiement d'un organisme à une famille. Donc, l'UNI a donné plus d'un demi-million de dollars à la famille Trudeau et le gouvernement Trudeau a versé une contribution de plus d'un demi-milliard de dollars. Donc, les conservateurs avaient déjà envoyé une plainte à la commissaire à l'éthique pour faire enquête des actions de Justin Trudeau, de son conflit d'intérêts par rapport à ces paiements que sa famille a reçus et la contribution que son gouvernement a versée. Mais avec les nouvelles révélations, les conservateurs feront une autre plainte au commissaire. Nous voulons savoir si ces dépenses remboursés par l'UNI pour la famille Trudeau de 212 000 ont été illégales. Deuxièmement, si ces dépenses auraient créé un plus grand conflit d'intérêts pour le premier ministre qui était intervenu pour verser cette contribution à l'organisme. Selon la section 11 de la loi sur les conflits d'intérêts, il est interdit à tout titulaire public de recevoir n'importe quel, et les familles de ces titulaires, de recevoir un cadeau qui pourrait donner pensée à viser à influencer la décision de ce titulaire d'un bureau public. Donc, on sait par exemple que l'épouse de M. Trudeau est allée à un événement à Londres en mois de mars avec l'organisme uni. Un mois plus tard, le premier ministre s'est intervenu pour aider le même organisme de recevoir une contribution pour un programme de plus de 500 millions de dollars. C'est nécessaire que le commissaire à l'éthique fasse enquête pour savoir si ces frais et ces dépenses remboursées ont enfreint la loi sur les conflits d'intérêts. Encore, l'organisme uni paie plus de 500 millions de dollars, je m'excuse, je vais recommencer. Encore, l'organisme uni a payé ou donné des biens de valeur de plus de 500 000 dollars à la famille Trudeau, et le gouvernement Trudeau a versé une contribution pour l'organisme à gérer à plus de 500 millions de dollars. C'est créé un conflit d'intérêts et un autre scandale libéral lié aux éthiques de Justin Trudeau. We knew all along, or we knew for some time, I should say, I should begin in English, that the Trudeau family received $350,000 of speaking fees. But what we learned yesterday is that in addition to those fees, the We charity paid over $200,000 of travel-related expenses for the Trudeau family. These two amounts total $566,000 in total fees and expenses for the Trudeau family. That's to say, $500,000 from the We charity to the Trudeau family, and of course, there was a contract or a contribution of $500 million from the Trudeau government to the We charity. Isn't it funny how that works? That the money travels this way first and that way second. These transactions equal a massive conflict of interest. In particular, we have already filed a complaint with the Ethics Commissioner asking for an investigation into whether the speaking fees put the Prime Minister in a conflict of interest or whether they were legal to receive in the first place. And now we are asking for another Ethics Commissioner investigation to ascertain if these expenses of $212,000 that the We charity paid on behalf of or to the Trudeau family created another breach of the Conflict of Interest Act. Section 11 of that act makes it clear that no public office holder, including the Prime Minister, or a member of their family may accept a gift that could reasonably be interpreted to have been done in order to influence a decision by that public office holder. I would note that Mr. Trudeau's spouse attended a We charity event in London in March of this year, only 1 month before the Prime Minister would personally intervene to extend this $500 million contribution to that same organization. So again, we have $500 million from we to the Trudeau family, and we have $500 million contribution from the Trudeau government to the We charity. This, in our view, represents a conflict of interest, and we want further investigation to get to the bottom of what laws may or may not have been broken in all of these transactions. Thank you very much.
We'll now start the question period. As usual, one question, one follow-up. Comme d'habitude pour la période de questions, une question et une question de suivi. We'll start with the question on the phone and we'll turn into the room. Opératrice, première question.
Thank you. Please press star 1 at this time if you have a question. S'il vous plaît, appuyez sur étoile 1 maintenant pour poser une question. The first question is from Raymond Filion from TVA. La première question est de Raymond Filion de TVA. La parole est à vous. Please go ahead.
Merci beaucoup. Monsieur Poilievre, à quoi vous vous attendez demain du témoignage du premier ministre Trudeau au Comité des finances?
J'espère que finalement, le premier ministre nous dise la vérité. Il a caché des frais que sa famille a reçus. Il a caché en plus des dépenses remboursées que sa famille a reçues. Il avoue avoir commis un conflit d'intérêts et nous voulons qu'il nous éclaircisse tous les autres avantages que lui ou sa famille ont reçus de l'UNI et toutes les implications et toute participation qu'il avait dans la décision d'accorder une contribution qui valait presque plus de 500 millions de dollars. Merci.
Votre parti réclame la démission de M. Trudeau. Alors, s'il met toutes les cartes sur table demain, et finalement, est-ce qu'il peut dire quelque chose demain qui vous ferait changer d'avis à ce niveau-là, ou vous allez continuer à demander sa démission quand même?
Je pense qu'il devrait dire la vérité. C'est de jamais vu dans l'histoire, au moins dans l'histoire moderne au Canada, que la famille d'un premier ministre reçoit un montant aussi grand que la famille Trudeau a reçu d'un organisme avec lequel ce premier ministre avait des affaires gouvernementaux. Donc, nous voulons que Justin Trudeau dise finalement la vérité. Et aussi, je veux avertir le président du comité de ne pas essayer de protéger le premier ministre des questions. I'll say it in English. I'd like to warn the chair of the Finance Committee to refrain from trying to protect the Prime Minister and block important questions. The chair of the committee is not supposed to be the Prime Minister's bodyguard. He's supposed to preside over an objective and fair meeting where members ask questions and witnesses give answers. Thank you.
Opératrice, prochaine question.
The next question is from Hélène Buzetti from Le Devoir. La prochaine question est de Hélène Buzetti de Le Devoir. Please go ahead. La parole est à vous.
Yes, my question is for Mr. Barrett. Can you just clarify where that $212,000 number come from? I did the math, and maybe my calculation is wrong, but I don't get to that number. Thank you.
I recognize it's tough to keep track of all of the new money that we're uncovering going to the Trudeaus every day. We've heard about the expense fees for Miss Gregoire Trudeau of $25,000, $25,326 for Mr. Alexandre Trudeau in $19,576, and Madame Margaret Trudeau at $167,000 $944, totaling $212,846.
Okay. And the other amounts you're talking about, the $353,000, you include in that the speaking fee, or I don't know how you call it, but a 20% speaking fee that the speaking agency is taking. Is that fair?
Look, I don't think that when we talk about contracts that are paid to professional athletes that we back out the amount that they pay to their agent. The same is true in this case. It's the total amount paid, and so I guess if they're paying 20% to their agent, if they got a different agent and were only being charged 10%, we'd have to calculate that every time. The benefit to them is the full amount, and they're using some of that money as an expense to pay talent management. I'm sure they're also paying accounting fees and the like, and so that's not for us to back that out. The total amount of the contract that was paid is the amount that's provided, and to parse out what their individual expenses are, I'd leave that to the individuals or for Mr. Trudeau to give an accounting of that.
Opératrice, prochaine question.
The next question is from Catherine Lévesque from La Presse canadienne. La prochaine question est de Catherine Lévesque de La Presse canadienne. Please go ahead. La parole est à vous.
Oui, bonjour. Mes questions sont pour M. Poilievre. Je vous demanderais de préciser, est-ce que vous voulez que le commissaire à l'éthique lance une autre enquête sur ces nouvelles révélations ou vous voulez qu'il élargisse l'enquête?
Une nouvelle enquête, parce que c'est possible que M. Trudeau enfreint une autre section de la loi, la section 11, par exemple, qui interdit un titulaire public ou les membres de sa famille de recevoir des cadeaux ou des bénéfices qui pourraient raisonnablement être considérés pour influencer une décision de ce titulaire public. Donc, c'est la section 11 et nous voulons que le commissaire fasse une enquête là-dessus.
Et certains ont tracé un parallèle avec le scandale des commandites et l'affaire Unie. Je me demandais si le Parti conservateur faisait aussi cette comparaison-là.
Oui, peut-être c'est inévitable que les libéraux vont, à un moment donné, se comporter comme des libéraux. On a vu dans le scandale des commandites que le Parti libéral a versé des sommes aux organismes qui ont versé ce même argent au Parti libéral. Et c'était l'argent, dans ce cas, dans le scandale des commandites, c'était l'argent sale, illégal et libéral. Maintenant, on voit un scandale qui est un peu différent, mais c'est certainement préoccupant que la famille Trudeau reçoit autant de bénéfices, de frais, dépenses remboursées pour un organisme que le premier ministre a aidé à décider à verser une contribution. Donc, les libéraux ont une grande histoire de violer les lois et les normes d'éthique. Et ce n'est pas juste le cas ici, c'est une histoire qui date depuis des décennies.
We'll now turn into the room. CTV.
Hi, Mr. Poilievre, Mackenzie Gray with CTV. Just a moment ago, you seemed to kind of give a warning to the Finance Committee Chair, Wayne Easter. Have you been unhappy with how he's adjudicated over the previous meetings? And I'm not sure necessarily what your concern would be about his handling of the committee.
Right. The Liberal chair is known for jumping in to protect Liberal witnesses and protect witnesses that could reveal the truth. His job is to see that questions are put and answered. The rule is this: the answer should be as long as the questions. the answers are not an opportunity to restate a speech. And the chair should know that. And if the witness doesn't answer the question, then his job is to allow the questioner to go on to another question.
Just to that, I mean, Mr. Meester had a number of points, both with Mr. Morneau and yesterday with the Kilburgers, seemed to interject on questions that you had asked and got them to follow up and answer. So I'm not necessarily sure he hasn't done that, but just to my follow-up, yesterday at the committee...
no, that's not true.
You debate
No,
that?
it's not true. When I asked simple, direct questions and was not getting an answer and interjected again to get an answer, Mr. Easter jumped in to protect the witness from giving that answer. Now, that might provide some momentary relief to the Liberals in this scandal, but here's the bad news for Wayne Easter and for the Liberals. We'll just call the witnesses back, and we'll do it all over again. So as much as he tries to jump in and play the bodyguard for embattled Liberal witnesses, he ultimately is doing them no favors because they will ultimately have to answer these questions.
Well, that ties nicely into my follow-up question. Yesterday at the committee, you threatened to ask the Kilburgers to come back if they were not going to answer the questions. Were you satisfied with the testimony, and are you going to consider, or any of the Conservatives going to consider having the Kilburgers come back to the committee to answer more questions?
We are considering that, yes. We haven't made any decisions yet.
CBC.
Good afternoon, Olivia Stefanovich, CBC News. The Prime Minister has said that he should have recused himself from cabinet discussions involving we and has apologized. What more are you hoping to hear from him, and what is your number one question for the Prime Minister tomorrow?
We want the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. He kept hidden the fact that his family received over $300,000 in speaking fees. And then when that revelation came out, I asked point blank in the House of Commons, what other expenses had his family received? And he kept that hidden until yesterday when we got a grudging and even confusing answer from the Kielburger brothers. What else is he hiding in this affair? He should come tomorrow and tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, for once.
Greg Kielburger said yesterday that this controversy could destroy we. Are you worried about that, or from what you've seen, do you think we should be shut down?
I have no comment on that. My issue is ensuring the proper use of public funds and the proper integrity of public office holders.
So you don't think the church should be shut down?
That's not a decision for me, and it's not my purpose in this matter.
Radio-Canada.
Monsieur Poilievre, Madeleine Blais-Morin de Radio-Canada, vous vous êtes posé la question juste pour que ce soit clair. Est-ce qu'il y a quelque chose que M. Trudeau peut dire demain pour finalement calmer l'affaire, à votre avis, de leur côté? Ils se sont déjà excusés de ne pas s'être récusés. Est-ce que, rendu là, c'est trop tard pour lui, à votre avis, pour que vous arrêtiez de demander sa démission?
Mais il devrait révéler la vérité, et toute la vérité. Justin Trudeau a caché le fait que sa famille a reçu plus de 300 000 en frais de l'Uni. Après cette révélation, on aurait pensé que le premier ministre permettrait toute la lumière sur les bénéfices que sa famille a reçus. Mais non! On apprend hier qu'il y avait plus de 200 000 de plus en dépenses remboursées qu'il n'avait pas divulgué au public. Alors, demain, il devrait divulguer tous les bénéfices, tout l'argent que sa famille a reçu de l'Uni. Deuxièmement, il devrait révéler toutes les conversations que lui, son bureau, ses ministres et sa famille a eues avec l'organisme uni. Donc, c'est ça qu'on veut de lui demain.
J'ai deux petites questions maintenant. Vous faites une nouvelle demande au commissaire à l'éthique. Vous en êtes où dans le nombre d'études qu'ils sont en train de faire? Par exemple, est-ce qu'ils ont accepté celles sur les voyages que M. Morneau a effectués? Et comme autre petite question technique, ce soir, est-ce que vous allez essayer encore une fois de prolonger le témoignage de M. Trudeau demain?
Nous avons fait les plaintes au GRC, au commissaire à l'éthique, au commissaire du lobbying. On ne sait pas lesquels sont en train de faire des enquêtes. C'est clair que Justin Trudeau veut arriver demain pour juste une heure, éviter toute question et se cacher en arrière du président libéral du comité. C'est sa stratégie. Il veut franchement pas répondre aux questions. Alors, les libéraux essaient de limiter les questions aux conservateurs à 11 minutes, par exemple. C'est ce que nous recevrons si on limite la durée de la réunion à 1 heure. 11 minutes, c'est rien. Pour une affaire de 500 millions de dollars, pour une affaire où sa famille a reçu des cadeaux comme ça, pour une affaire qui a causé plusieurs enquêtes parmi des autorités et des commissaires, 11 minutes, ce n'est pas assez pour répondre aux questions. Donc, nous voulons que les libéraux acceptent que le premier ministre reste pour au moins 3 heures. Les libéraux ont obligé Jody Wilson-Raybould à rester presque 4 heures au comité pendant l'affaire SNC-Lavalin. Donc, si Mme Jody Wilson-Raybould peut rester aussi longtemps, le premier ministre devrait pouvoir le faire aussi. Sorry. Yeah. Okay. I'm not a very good translator. All right. So we don't know exactly which. We filed complaints with the Ethics Commissioner, the RCMP, the Lobbying Commissioner. We don't know which of them have formally opened investigations, but we suspect there will be multiple. Tomorrow, we want the Prime Minister to come to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. The Liberals are trying to limit this to 1 hour so the Prime Minister can come in, give a big, grand speech, and limit the questioning to 11 minutes by Conservative members. He'll try to hide behind the Liberal chair, who we know has a history of barging into the debate to protect witnesses and prevent the truth from coming out. That is not accountability. And I would just tell the Prime Minister that the House of Commons will vote in September to recall him for another round of testimony if he doesn't give exhaustive answers tomorrow. So the idea of having him sneak in, make a speech, and head for the hills not long after while seeking cover and protection from the Liberal chair is not going to work. He'll be invited back, and next time he'll be invited back to a committee chaired by an objective member of Parliament who will not be swayed by partisanship.
We'll get back to the phone. Opératrice, est-ce que nous avons une prochaine question?
The next question is from Anne-Caroline Desplanques from the Journal de Montréal. La prochaine question est de Anne-Caroline Desplanques du Journal de Montréal. Please go ahead. La parole est à vous.
Oui, merci. Bonjour, messieurs. Merci d'être là. J'ai une question relativement aux fonds qui ont été versés à Oui, au premier versement que We Charity a reçu du gouvernement. Selon votre compréhension et vos informations, est-ce que le gouvernement fédéral a récupéré tout l'argent qui avait été versé à Oui?
Honnêtement, je suis pas au courant. Je suis pas au courant si oui ou non le gouvernement a récupéré ces sommes. À ce que j'ai compris hier, les sommes ont été versées, si je me trompe pas, et l'organisme uni s'est consacré à rembourser ces sommes. Donc, je fais confiance à l'organisme et au gouvernement de garder cette promesse et de rembourser les contribuables. Mais nous allons chercher une confirmation que l'organisme n'a gardé aucun sou des contribuables pour cette contribution.
Très bien. Merci beaucoup.
Opératrice, prochaine question.
Once again, please press star 1 if you have a question. De nouveau, n'hésitez pas à appuyer sur étoile 1 pour toute question. The next question is from Tom Korski from Blacklock's Reporter. La prochaine question est de Tom Korski de Blacklock's Reporter. Please go ahead. La parole est à vous.
Thank you for whoever chooses to answer. I wanted to ask a question about swearing in witnesses. This last came up 2 years ago in a Senate committee as a reflection of frustration with evasive testimony by witnesses over the Phoenix hay business. Comment was made yesterday the Kielburgers were sworn in. I don't know if the clerk swore them in or not. Mr. Poilievre, I know that you have asked the Prime Minister to be sworn in tomorrow. Do you have an opinion as to whether all witnesses at all parliamentary hearings should be sworn in, as occurs in other democracies, and would you be prepared to take practical steps to make that happen?
I think the Prime Minister should swear in tomorrow, and I don't have a problem with extending that requirement to all witnesses. Thank you.
On a second topic, Mark Kielburger testified yesterday. The Canada Student Service Grant program could have been as small in terms of payouts as $200 million, that in his words, very few post-secondary students were ever going to see $5,000, which was, of course, the whole point of the program as it was announced in April as a $912 million benefit to jobless students. Do you have questions, and I'm curious to know what they are, if so, about the entire design of this program, which appears to have been heavily oversold, and according to We Charity's own modeling, was going to be a very modest benefit for very few post-secondary students?
You want to take that one? Sure.
The initial announcement from the Prime Minister was that they were launching a $912 million program. The agreement that was released last week shows that it was half $500 million, $500 million. And then we have We Charity saying that it was going to be in the $250 million range. So every time we ask the questions about this, we get a different answer on how big the program was going to be, how much it was going to cost. And there were a number of contradictions that were offered yesterday in the Kielburgers' testimony, especially when contrasted against that of the public servants who testified at Finance in the previous hearings. And so it's concerning when no one involved in the agreement knows how much it was going to cost. And we also have to question the need for this parallel program altogether. The Canada Summer Jobs program, which has been executed for many years and is underfunded and was in place and already being executed on by the public service, was not the vehicle that the Trudeau government decided to spend $912 million, a number that's now in the contribution agreement listed at somewhere in the $500 million range, and then listed yesterday by the Kielburgers in less than $300,000. So that's confusing at best, but there should be questions, more answers provided by the Prime Minister and by his ministers about what this program was actually supposed to look like and where it really came from. One of the discrepancies that came up in the testimony yesterday was that the Kielburgers offered that this was simply a program in response, an offering by them in response to a request from the government. Well, that's in contradiction to the testimony of Miss Rachel Wernick from the government, who said that they had made that we had made an unsolicited proposal to the government that was the foundation for the CSSG. So very confusing, and it's cause for many more questions to be asked, and that's exactly why the hearings will continue in multiple committees.
Opératrice, prochaine question.
There are no further questions registered at this time. Nous n'avons pas de questions pour le moment.
Thank you.
Thank you. Merci.